person put it in the book. I mean, that is such a terrible thing. It breaks my heart. It honestly breaks my heart. Kululek, I think you can put the sound down just a tad, please, honey. Thank you to my crew for working so hard tonight. Give yourselves a round of applause for being here tonight. Thank you so much. And of course, we've got the Shambeds in the house tonight. I'll stand to the Natalie Booth. But that's not about them tonight because they didn't bring a soccer ball. Shame on them. In the last 14 months, this store, and I'm sure Andrea Gerling, who's one of our greatest readers and supporters of our launches, we have launched over 130 African authors in this store. People that you don't even know about. And the reason we started this project is, for me, relevancy in books is from South African authors. We don't get to know about them. They struggle along, come into stores, come and bring me their books, and then what? So I embrace this because I need to know about African stories. I want to read about African people. Right from the DRC, Zambia, Zimbabwe, into Africa, we have done this in the store. 85% of those authors have been women. Black African women. What a joy for me to see this happening. It's important to support our own. You know, we're always supporting the soccer teams, we're supporting the musos. We have stunning events here. We had a wedding here last year. We think out of the box here. For me, for an author, it is one of the most hardest things to sell is a book. You know, books are deemed a luxury where they should be a necessity. How do we educate our own? How do we educate those children? Create their awareness of education. And I say this to authors all the time. I read 300 books a year. My education did not come from an educational institution. No institution in the world could have given me the education that I have received from the books that I have read in my lifetime. And for that, I thank the authors for my education. How do you spark and create this in the young people of today? Those stories that our boogers have told us and our grannies, where do we start sparking this imagination? We've got Siafunda donated book in the house. This gentleman in blue here is actually building libraries in rural areas. He's getting the books out to the rural areas so that the gogos and the aunts and the uncles that have been chucked with children can start reading and reading to those kids, so when they get to school, they have been exposed to books instead of their telephones. It is so important. What are we as people actually doing at ground level to help this? We've got people like Sonia writing books because it's bigger than that. There is a lesson in every book. It doesn't matter what, if it's a children's book or a mathematical book, there is an educational lesson there. And I urge you tonight, you're not here just for the food and drink, because my security guards here will not let you go out here without buying a book, because that's what you're doing here. End of story. I'm watching you. It's just a very passion of mine. Books are a big passion of mine, and it's just an absolute honor to welcome the newest author, who all of you know, it's not her first book, it's her second book, to Sonia Booth, and I'd like you to give her a round of applause, please. As if life is not so bloody awful as it is now. We're getting up going, beady, 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 beady. This woman decides to put her life into the hands of people that we think we can trust. Guys in the audience tonight, thank you for being here. I'm appealing to the woman tonight, and Kim and I are going to go through this with Sonia, is why are we not talking about the things that are happening with us? Why are we keeping the stigmatism and taboo of not educating ourselves and our daughters about things that are happening inside us? Why is it that we keep all this to ourselves and then land up in a place where you think you're going to be safe and get hacked half to death? The support systems that you have. Why are we not sharing this? And we all go, oh, sorry, buy her flowers. And we think as women that we've done our job to be that support group. Oh, Wena, what is going on with our civilization today? Us as women, as sisters, we are taking over the world already, hello? I mean, hello, thug life, power to woman, right? We're going to have this conversation tonight. Sorry, I'm a bit of a mad hatter. And I'm very passionate about conversations like this, because it's important that we share the information, empowerment of ourselves and others in South Africa is going to make our land a little bit of a better place. We can't rely on politicians, they do nothing. Right?
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's going to be up to us. Kim Hunter, I want to thank you. By the way, sorry guys, this is being broadcast all over the world. Just so you know, that's what we do here at Schools. We're breaking barriers, we're breaking things into, we just, what was the word there you?
Destruction.
We're not being destructive. We're breaking the barriers of getting our authors out into the world. Disruption. We are disrupting the industry. We're disrupting the myth about reading. You can only watch so much television and YouTube, hey? I mean, really and truly, and there's a lot of it is nonsense anyway. So Kim Hunter is actually broadcasting this all over the world tonight. If you have any objections, speak now or forever hold your peace. Finished. Hello, Charlotte. This is what we do for authors. So Kim runs a Facebook blog. She's a blogger. She reviews books. She has, I don't know your CV, I need to, it's too long. She's one of my best friends and a great supporter of literature. And that's what's important to me. Her Facebook page is called Tango with Text. And she's stepping up tonight to, and let's give Sonia another round of applause, please, everybody. And Kim Hunter from Tango with Text. And we are going to get into conversations tonight, and I want you to, this lady's accessible. You know, if you have to go and see her somewhere else, you're going to pay lots of money, man. She's for free tonight. Get inside her head. I want to hear from you guys and her friends and ladies. What is it? What is it? I mean, some of you haven't read the book, some of you are buying the book tonight, most of you are buying the book tonight. Let's get inside Sonia's head. Let's ask her, what is Surviving ICU all about? Another round of applause. Thank you, Kim.
Okay, so I'm going to start things off a little bit gently this evening before we get into the nitty-gritty. And first of all, I want to know from Sonia, because tonight is the first time that I've had the pleasure of meeting you. And I always like to come into things blind. I know that generally people like to do a lot of research. I'm afraid I'm not one of them. I like to come in and I like to meet the people and I like to get to know them. So my very first question to you is, won't you tell us a little bit about what life was like when you were growing up?
First of all, good evening. There's some faces that I haven't said hello to yet. Oh, closer. Is that better? Okay. Good evening to those that I haven't met or that I haven't said hello to already. I really appreciate the time that you took out to come and show support and to give your support, because you know you can never do it on your own. And the time that you took out when you could have been elsewhere, you know, after all, it's a Puza Thursday, as we call it. I know there's plenty other, you know, commitments that you could have, you know, what's the word? English can be difficult sometimes. Attended, yeah, school, you know. Thank you so much. It's coming from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me. So your first question, my upbringing, where am I from? I'm a township girl, and I'm never shy to say that. I grew up in Pimville, Soweto, and from a very close-knit family, a big family. In fact, we're a clan, we're not a family. Matthew's still meeting some of my cousins, and we've been together 17 years. So I think that gives you an idea at some point. I mean, I grew up in a very, very modest home. A 4-roomed house, 2 bedrooms, and at some point there was 16 cousins. So some of us would sleep in the kitchen, we were on top of each other, breathing on top of each other, and at times you had cousins you wanted to kill. There are still cousins that would probably do that today, but that's family for you, right? You can't choose your family, right? But I still love them. Mum, hi. A special shout out to my mum, my siblings, they know I love them. So that's me, it's myself, and I'm the eldest. I've got 4 siblings, and I think I've been a good sister. I think I've been a good example. I've got 2 incredible sons, and I dedicated the book to them, and I've got a wonderful husband, you know. What I went through, I'm not about to talk about the book yet, because you haven't asked me that, but as an intro, seeing that you asked me about my background, one thing that we underestimate is that, you know, the journey called life can never be walked alone, you know, on your own. You can never do it on your own. You know, the companionship, the unionship and the support that I got from my husband, who's here tonight. So I'm sort of like rounding up my family background. I've given you the, what do you call it? My upbringing, in a way, in Pimville. And I think that's in a nutshell. Do you want to hear more? Because I don't want to, you know, I can do that, right? I can talk for days. So you guide me, right? I'm a newbie at this, you know, this Q&A. And you intimidate me, by the way. You do. Or you already told me that you're going to make it difficult for me, but you can bring it on, it's okay. So, are you happy, or do you want me? No? You happy?
I'm really very nice.
Yeah.
Along this journey called life, you met and married Matthew, and you have 2 beautiful children. I would just like...
I'm shaking.
No!
Sure, I'm nervous. Wow, okay.
But these are all your friends and your family.
No, but that's the thing. Sure, but you guys are also intimidating. It's like, oh. Okay, let me just do that. Okay. Wow, sure. Okay, I'm ready.
We haven't even gotten to any of the serious bits yet.
Wow, okay, I'm okay now. I think I'm okay. Can I have a double tone, please? Thank you. I'm serious. Okay. Yeah. so I can buy a drink for myself. I'm sorry, please carry on. I needed to get the nerves out.
Now you've made me nervous. Your husband, Matthew, and your two beautiful children. And this is purely for my own curiosity. I would love to know how you met Matthew.
People love that question. Why? Is it because I'm black and he's white? Okay, we met 17 years ago. A long time, right? I know. Shoot. I know. Who's counting? We met 17 years ago through his teammate, former teammate, Alana Mugu. He used to play for Cameroon, and Matthew was playing for Sundowns, so they were both teammates at Sundowns. And a former friend of mine had come to my apartment for the weekend. And Matthew's teammate at the time had a 5-year-old daughter who was visiting from Paris because they had separated, the parents, going through a divorce, whatever. And that weekend they had to go and play a tournament in Cameroon against a local team there. And he didn't have anyone to look after his daughter because he didn't know anyone here. So because he was pursuing a friend of mine, Matthew's teammate, that is. So I offered, because I was available that weekend, I offered to look after, the 5-year-old daughter. And when he came to pick up his daughter, he came with Matthew. I'm not sure if it was planned, but I don't even know why Matthew was there, because it wasn't his kid, but he was just there. And I know he loves sharing the story. I need to tell you the story, because I think I'm going to be liberated after telling the story, because he likes giving me a hard time about this. So I just want to put it out there so that he never ever uses it against me again, ever, yeah? So there's a knock at the door. It's a tiny, tiny cottage, I was still a struggling model, I wasn't making, not like Naomi Campbell kind of, checks, I was in a very small cottage at the back of this massive house in Parkhurst where I was renting. It was fit enough for me, tiny size, extra small model. That was my excuse anyway, but honestly, that's all I could afford. Anyway, so, knock at the door, and I open. I'm in my own space, right? So I'm in my PJs. When you're at home over the weekend, I don't need to impress anybody. It's in my house, I own this space, so I'm just justifying that I was in pajamas the whole day. So I'm in my pajamas, right? And the pajamas mom had bought me, I was like 20 and I was still wearing pajamas that mom had bought me when I was 12. So they were like, here, right? We call it don't touch my shoes, So group type of situation, right? And I'm missing 2 buttons and there's a hole here as well. I could throw them out, but I don't know about you, but Matthew calls me a hoarder. But in actual fact, I find it hard to throw things away because I have a fear that I'm going to be thrown away someday. Oh no, are you feeling sorry for me already? I know it's sad, eh? Yeah. So even if something is a hole, I can't bring myself to taking it into the refuse bin, the dustbin. So anyway, back to the story. I know I've gone like a long way around to get to that, right? But, so I'll open the door and, here's this 6'4" tall person who's now in my personal space and, I was not planning on impressing anybody. I was not interested in dating at the time. And the last person I wanted to date was a soccer player, right? Because they had a bad reputation, right, Stanton? So, they get into my apartment and they make themselves comfortable. And I'm thinking, okay, they're just going to pick up the daughter and then they must just leave. But no, they sit and then they expect to be catered for. They expect drinks, then they expect food. But luckily, eventually, they left. And 17 years later, we're here. Have I answered the question?
Well, I have to say a great big congratulations on the 17 years, because I think that's quite an achievement all on its own.
Sure.
the way,
Sorry, I'm with you.
She's laughing.
along the way, you've ended up going through this experience which you have written about in this book. And as Deborah says, women don't talk about their wombs, uterus, ovaries. So I'm wondering how the story actually began. How did you find out that there was a problem? And then if you could just take us through, not the whole book, please, because, you know, you're all going to read it, but the major steps along the way, and then also, as you are telling that, if you could just let us know what you learnt going through that experience, what lessons you would like others to hear and take note of.
You know, first of all, let me start by saying, ladies, in particular here tonight, do yourselves a favor and introduce yourselves after this to, there's 2 gynecologists and obstetricians in the room who are, you know, here to support me. Ladies that I've met, you know, during or through this journey. Dr. Matsose, and we have Dr. Lusanda, other way around. Shimange Matsose. Please raise your hands so we can see you, ladies. Yeah. You know, I'm glad you mentioned the fact that, or acknowledged, well, Deborah acknowledged the men, you know, who have come through, not only just accompanying their partners, but I think it's also as a way of supporting, and I think they're probably also curious as to, you know, what the book is about, because the title, yes, is self-explanatory, you know, Surviving ICU, so you know that I survived ICU, but I did not want for anybody just to gauge from the book cover as to what the book was about, which is a memoir. You know, what I regret, which is one of the reasons that led me to writing the book, what I regret was not knowing my family history. So, you know, I had been okay. I mean, I know you said you don't want me to I'm not going to talk about the book, but you know, you asked me about the initial stages and then to what landed me in ICU. You know, you take for granted the family history. Only after I had been to the doctor and he said to me, somebody in your family would have had fibroids or has fibroids or is going to get fibroids. Obviously, you're one of them now because the ultrasound is revealing that there's a problem there, that this was for the CT scan. But I think you knew by then that there was a problem there. So I mean, the drive back home, I kept thinking to myself, you know, I know my mom hasn't experienced such problems before. I mean, she's here. And then she revealed to me on the phone, this is on my way from the doctor's room to the house where I'm supposed to be waiting out the ultrasound results, the blood test results, and then now I'm preparing myself to go for a CT scan because obviously everything has to be scheduled. It's not like you go to a GP now or a gynae now and then you go for tests right away. You have to get booked for these things, right? Medical aid and all of that to get authorization, blah, blah, blah. So I'm on my way home, I think Matthew was driving, and I'm calling my mom, and I'm like, Ma, who's experienced fibroids in the family? And then she drops a bombshell. She said, a week before your grand died, she was on the waiting list at Baragwanath Hospital to have the fibroids removed. So she died whilst on the waiting list. And I mean, so you're hearing this over the phone, and you're like, okay. But then, of course, there were complications that would have led to the death. But fact is, at the time, she was on a waiting list to be operated on. So I'm going home, and I can't even take painkillers because for some reason at the time, nothing worked. I mean, I had taken everything in my medicine cupboard, and nothing was working. So for me, there was really no point to take any more painkillers, and I just had to sit with this pain for like a whole 3 days, and it was like the longest 3 days of my life. But long story short, I'm hoping this book will get us to sit exactly like we are now. You know, I'm hoping that men are not going to shy away from sitting down with their women. Better yet, accompany your woman to your gynae. You know, it's amazing that men seem to think that you only go to a gynae for an ultrasound when your woman is expecting a baby. There's nothing wrong with your man going with you for your gynecological appointment. You know, we shy away from talking about things like that, and yet we all came from the uterus. But society has made it taboo and awkward for us to talk about period pains, for example. We, especially in the black culture, I mean, I don't know how you were brought up, but for me, I can never have a conversation about my periods, let alone my first period, with my dad. Even with my mom, is like, you know, conversations about contraceptives, you can't talk about that. I mean, if you're not talking to your parents, then you're gonna go and find information from, you know, your peers who are also not really clued up about, you know, the correct one for your age or for your, you know, I don't know, the profiling, because obviously different contraceptives you would be prescribed for different scenarios, right? The two of us can't be on the same. So I'm hoping that after reading, you know, if Britannia buys the book today, well, actually, I know she's going to buy the book today, right? So I'm hoping that when she finishes reading the book, and there's a reason why it had to be a light read as well. First of all, if you bring me a book this thick, like Long Walk to Freedom, I'm still on page 230, and I bought it like 17 years ago before I met Matthew. So, yeah. But I've yet to meet a person that's finished Long Walk to Freedom. I've yet. You have? You have. Kudos to you. Wow. Well done. Chuck Norris. You're the future. No, you are. No, I'm being serious. I mean, anyway. So I'm hoping it'll be easier for Britannia to read the book and then give it to her husband. Why? So that the husband can understand better what is going on through her body. So that when she's got ovulation pain, they both know that, okay, it's ovulation pain. When she's having, what is excessive menstrual period pain, by the way? Dysmenorrhea. Like, did you know that certain period pains can have the same effect, like the same pain as a heart attack? Yeah. Some people miss work. My sister, for example, has heavy period pains. And I mean, she's probably going to be shy that I'm talking about this, but we need to be having these conversations. I'm talking about my sister, for crying out loud, because I care about her. So, to a point where you miss work for a whole week, the pain, like you crawling, you want to crawl on the floor, you want to crawl on cement. Let's talk about that, whether you have girls or not. We have 2 boys. I don't need to worry about that, but my husband and my 2 kids, when they're old enough to understand all these things, need to know so that when I'm not able to look after myself, of which for 6 weeks, during recovery, not counting the 2 weeks that I was in hospital, they had to look after me. If they don't understand what I'm going through, how are they going to help with my recovery? So that's the whole point. Britannia reads the book. She gives the book to the husband to understand, so that when she gets sick, touch wood, it's not wood, what, where's wood? There's wood, yeah, touch wood. When she gets ill, he's in a better position. He understands exactly what she's going through, so that he doesn't think that she's a drama queen or exaggerating. He fully understands, and therefore as partners, as a union, they can go through the journey together, because what I went through, I would not have been able to go through on my own. Have I answered your question? Sort of.
How many people in the audience have children? Hands up. How many people in the audience have girl children? Okay, how many of you parents have spoken about what a period is, how to deal with pain, why you need to go to the gynecologist? Okay, and suddenly we've got very few hands. That's a bit sad, I think. Sonia, fibroids, that is what the cause of your actually going into hospital was. There needed to be an operation, obviously, because otherwise you wouldn't have been in hospital, and something went wrong. Can you just give us a few little details about what actually went wrong and how you ended up in ICU for such a long time?
You know, like I said, there's two gynaes in the room. So if I'm not able to express myself properly, you know, one can always go to them after this and verify what I'm about to say, because obviously I'm not an expert. I mean, and I need to give the respect that you guys went to medical school for so many years. I found out, I think, from Dr. Lysander, that a woman can actually have fibroids and without them causing pain for years and years and years. Yes. I think what led to me having surgery, and the reason I say I think is because after reading the book, then you'll understand why I think. Long story short, I had to change gynaes after what I went through. And luckily for him, I do not reveal his name. But if you were to come up to me after this, off record, I'll be able to say to you, don't go to him. There's reasons, and you'll read about some of them in the book. So for me, I had 4 fibroids, and one of them was the size of a tennis ball, and apparently that's not big. In my mind, that was big. But according to the two gynaes here, one fibroid can be as big as a rugby ball. You get them that big. I'm sure you've heard of women who think that they're pregnant, but in actual fact, they're not pregnant. They look pregnant, but it's a fibroid sitting there. It's like, you really think that you would want to congratulate it, but in actual fact, you should not be congratulating it because it's a fibroid, right? So the burst cyst was what led to my gynae scheduling this, the first operation, which at the time, it was supposed to be what they call a laparoscopy. It's supposed to be a small incision, you know, like at the most about an inch, but only to find that it was a bigger problem than that. So for me, it didn't help that I had the burst cyst, and this burst cyst apparently was releasing this hot liquid. That's what was causing me the most pain. Like, what's the worst pain that you've ever experienced? Like slamming your fingers against the door? Nothing compared to that, because I've had my fingers slammed against a car door, black taxis, you know, with the roller doors. I'm sure some of you have been in a taxi. My sister's been on a taxi. My brother's been in a taxi. Hilton, you've been in a taxi. You've accidentally slammed your fingers against the taxi door, and no matter how Christian you are, the things that come out of your mouth, and then you just, you pray afterwards and you're like, forgive me, but you realize I'm in pain, right? That kind of pain. So, have I answered your question? No. More on. So it was supposed to be a laparoscopy, and a laparoscopy you can go home same day. And then I had signed the papers that I had signed. I had signed for a lap scope and a myomectomy. They ended up doing a myomectomy. So I had 3 procedures. I forgot the third one. Yeah, you'll read about it in the book, right? Yeah. So the one was supposed to be a small incision, and then that small incision was to get to the burst cyst through laser to get rid of it, and then the other one was supposed to remove the fibroids. But then instead I ended up with the myonectomy, which is like a C-section. No, am I laparotomy? Yeah, instead of a laparoscopy. They all described in the book, so I know your eyes are growing big and you're thinking, ooh, English. Yeah. So I think the worst for me was that, remember, so you sign the papers and then pre-admission and all of that. So you're preparing yourself mentally for a small incision-like operation, and you're thinking, well, I'll be going home, obviously not in a day, because now I have to remove the fibroids as well. So I knew I was in hospital for 3-4 days. And the look on Matthew's face when the anesthesia had worn off, I think I was back in the ward now, and I opened my eyes, and the look on his face expressed that a lot more had gone on. Something more had gone on than what I had signed up for. So the look on his face was a look of worry, to say, uh-oh, you don't realize what's going on there. I mean, the pain wasn't so bad, because obviously pain, what do you call it? Yeah, administration, whatever. It was strong enough. I mean, I was given good, strong stuff. Well, I wish I had other natural, strong stuff, but you get my point. I had good stuff, very strong. So, but then I couldn't move, because obviously this is the core, right? Everything is centered around the core. So when I was wanting to do that, from that position, lying down and elevate myself slightly, I realized that I couldn't do it by myself. It was impossible for me to do that. That's when I realized, he didn't even need to tell me what had actually happened. I mean, but then I remember looking underneath my gown and realizing that I had dressing from underneath my breasts all the way down here, and then from one end to the other. So I didn't need to ask him. I just knew that something had gone wrong. Anyway, dealt with that, as difficult as it was, dealing with the fact that I've been cut up like a T-junction, really. So 3 days later, I'm preparing myself that, okay, tomorrow I'm going home. So now I'm excited, thinking I'm just counting down the hours. In the morning, my gynae is going to come and see me, and the surgeon, and then they're going to sign the papers and, discharge papers and take home medicine, and then I'm going back home. And then in the afternoon, I remember just before lunch, it was still liquid diet that I was on. And so I remember lying down, and I could see my belly swelling. It's almost like have you ever sat, I'm sure you've sat as a child watching your gran bake something in the oven, and you're watching it slowly rising. It sounds exaggerated, but that's exactly what was going on in my tummy. I mean, I had nothing else to do. You can only watch so much TV, right? So I'm lying there, almost flat down, but I could see my tummy, like, over hours. I just knew that something was not right. And then I started getting heartburn, which I couldn't explain. Water was not helping, and then my gynae recommends ice cream because it's going to cool down. Maybe he was hoping emotionally it was going to help as well, because hospital diet ain't kosher. So a few hours went by, and then eventually I called the nurses and I said, I'm getting really bad heartburn, and it's getting worse, and my tummy is just swelling up here. Something is not right. I know my body. And she took it lightly. She was like, no, you'll be fine. And then I pressed the bell again, I think half an hour later, and I said to her, if you're not going to call my gynae, I'm going to call him now from my cell phone, because I had hidden my cell phone under my pillow. And so eventually, after making that threat, she called my gynae, and he prescribed something for heartburn. But then an hour later, I was not getting any better, and I called him from my cell phone to say, really, can you do something here? And then a few hours later, when he realized that nothing was working, he arranged for me to have a CT scan, which revealed a bowel obstruction. So this is 3 days after being cut up into a Chi junction, right? So just before midnight, he had assembled a team of 7. It had to be the gynae, the assistant, the surgeon, the assistant, the nurse, the theatre assistant. There was a team of 7. And he had to do that because my life was in danger, obviously. And now trying to decide, does Matthew tell my folks, give them an update? And then Matthew said, no, rather let's let them sleep because it's just before midnight. So just before midnight, I was wheeled back into theatre, and so I was cut open exactly where they had cut me. They went to open that very same place for the 4th operation in 3 days. And so as a precautionary measure, because you're opening up a wound that's like only 3 days old, the decision was that I would be taken to ICU because I needed to be monitored 24 hours. And so they obviously knocked me out for the operation, and then I woke up in ICU.
Is anybody else's jaw just hanging down on the ground? I mean, isn't this just the worst thing you've ever heard? I think I want to ask you about something else now, because I'm feeling quite emotional, actually. So let's change the subject a little bit before we open to the audience for some questions. Tell me about the Booth Education and Sports Trust.
Myself and my husband, Matthew, founded the trust or established it in 2009. And the main reason for that was we wanted to see where our money went. Because more often than not with NPOs, they consider themselves NPOs, public benefit organizations, but there's no transparency. So you can donate 1,000 rands without knowing that is 900 rands of 1,000 rand going towards salaries, or is most of it going towards the enrichment, empowerment, or whatever it is, if it's a children's home, whatever, homeless shelter, whatever. So it was for 2 reasons. That one was to create a legacy for our sons, hoping that they would continue with our work. And for the second reason, that we really wanted to see where our money went. And the beauty of it is that with our trust, we're the only NPO in the country that has financial statements on the website. Now ask yourself why a lot of these NPOs don't have their financial statements on their website. There's no transparency. So you can go and donate thousands, millions, you don't know where the money is going. So we're transparent enough to say, you can go and scrutinize our financial statements and you see where your money is going. That's the beauty of it. And we're hoping other NPOs will follow suit. So it's the Education and Sports Trust because those are 2 passions, and best of all, you can never separate education and sports. No chance. So we're both equally passionate about the 2, but we have book clubs, spelling bee tournaments. We can donate books as well. I mean, we've actually just, we're going to be together, smomoza, that kind of thing, So wherever there's a need, with the connections that we have, you're in need of books for the libraries that you're opening up, which that's an amazing legacy that you've created. We need more people like you. It's commendable, and don't tire, never tire. So the football side, football coaching clinics, because obviously Matthew is a former professional player, where if any corporate, if they want to do like what do you call it, team building exercise, Matthew can bring in his friends like Stanton and Fabian and so forth. So you've got access to that. But from the trust side, any school, whether it's disadvantaged or not, if you want him and his mates to give a soccer clinic, they can do that. And if a school doesn't afford to pay, the trust pays for that. And those services will be made available because football is the #1 sports in the country. So that's what we do.
Earlier when I asked you what the 3 lessons were, or asked you what the lessons were that you had learnt after this whole debacle, really, you said, know your family's medical history, understand where your support is going to come from when you are in a position like this, and then the third one was to make sure that you understand that you have options. It's very rare that there are no options whatsoever. So the third lesson that you learned was make sure that you find out the options. And I'm going to leave that little nugget floating in the air because I'd like to know if any of the audience members have something that they would like to ask Sonia about. Come, raise your hands. This wonderful lady has put herself here, just waiting for you to ask your questions.
Yes. Sonia, how did you keep your sons from being afraid of what's happening to mommy this entire time? You said they were looking after you for 6 weeks. How your whole family was, but your boys are young. And I don't know whether they're mature enough to understand what is happening to you. So if you know, because they're young, how did you deal with them and getting them to kind of be strong for mommy?
Okay, so how did you manage your young children during this whole process, making sure that they weren't scarred in any way by your experience?
You know, it was very difficult, still is difficult. I mean, at the time, I think Nathan was 10 and Noel was 6, going on 7. It was not easy because a part of you wants to bring up kids that know that these things happen in life. You can't shield your kids away from realities of life because they grow up being kids who have got no emotion, no feeling, and no emotional intelligence, which for me is more important than IQ. We can argue about that, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. If you've got no emotional intelligence, you're dead. You're as good as dead. So the balance was making them aware that I was not coping, because I was not coping. I mean, there were dark moments where I felt, you know what, I actually don't have to fight. I don't need to fight. I'm done. Whatever. I mean, you go through phases, but there were times where I'm like, I actually don't care whether I die, whether I live. I went through that. And someone else can argue and say, but you had 2 young kids that needed you as a mother. When you're going through such hardships, you don't actually care about anyone else because you can't even care for yourself. You don't have the strength in you to look after yourself, therefore you cannot care about anybody else, whether they're your bloodline, your kids or not. So the difficulty, as I said, was trying to strike a balance of making them aware that mommy was going through the darkest period in her life, but also finding a way of saying to them, it's okay, I will be okay. Because you don't want to give them a sense hope that mommy is superwoman, mommy's got it together, because she doesn't have it together. Nobody does, because superwoman does not exist. So to answer your question, It was not easy. It was not an easy balance. But what made it easier, I don't want to say easy because it was never easy. What made it easier was that Matthew stepping up his game and pulling up his socks and realizing that mommy's not available. So now I'm the mommy, I'm the daddy, and whatever you need, I will take the roles of both mommy and daddy because mommy is not available at the moment. So thanks to him. Yeah, are you happy? Good.
Any more questions?
I just want to hear Sonia say vagina.
You know, I had Dr. Lusanda in studio, you know, for my show, you know, Cliff Central, we don't call it radio, we call it unradio. So, you know, so I had her in the show and I struggled to say vagina. Are you happy now? Yeah. It's a tough question. Like I said, you know, we all know about the different stages of grief, right? Yeah? One is denial, one is acceptance, and all of that, and one is just the phase where I don't care, which I mentioned earlier. For me, the turning point was actually saying to myself, Nathan and Noah did not ask to be brought into this world. It's your responsibility as a mother to look after them because they did not ask to be born. You're going to get your ish together. It's going to take time. It's not going to be easy. But with the support that I had from my family, and best of all from my husband, I needed to take responsibility for my kids. And I can tell you right now, had I not had kids, I probably might not be sitting with you here today. I know, heavy. So they were the reason I decided that, yes, it's not easy, but you decided to become a mother, but they did not ask to be born. What are you going to do? That's simple as that. The factory's closed for us, right? Yeah. It was closed a long time ago. We have 2 boys, that's it. Have you seen how much school fees cost? Exactly. No, I was just joking. No, but the factory's closed.
You can still practice.
I have my mum here, remember? Behave yourself, Deborah, behave.
Just said vagina.
Behave yourself. I'm going to call security on you. You can still have kids. I've had 2 C-sections for both our boys, and I've had 2 myomectomies and abdominoplasty. I know, I've had 11 operations so far in my life, but who's counting? You can have kids after having fibroids, right? Doctors? Yeah. Remember, you have 2 doctors here, so use them while you're here because, hey, they're very expensive. If you don't get them tonight, you're on your own. They're going to charge you. Yeah, they might actually still send you an invoice when you get home. So ask them first before you open your mouth, right? Yeah, you can still have a normal life after having them removed, absolutely. And remember, you can go without even knowing that they're there. Interesting. Can you, doctor? No? Yeah. So, yeah. Complicated. Another book for that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to keep quiet now. Sonia has a few more words that she wants to say to us. Something about an experience from her very recent past, and then she'll close it off with some thank yous. So I'm going to step off the stage. If you could tell us about your recent experience, that would be great. And don't forget, everybody, when Sonia has finished, please come up, greet her, love her, buy her book. Lots of photos for Facebook, for other social media, and best of all, the author is in the house to sign the books that you buy. Okay, Sonia, over to you.
No, you know, you're going to read about what I went through already in 2015. This book launch has been long overdue. But 2015 for me was like the hardest year. But what happened to me about a month ago was something that I was not even expecting. Once you read the book and you're done with it, you'll think to yourself, the universe cannot throw any more negativity towards this woman. This woman has seen it all. You know, 11 odds. You would have thought that's it, no more. And the naive me thought, I can never experience problems with fibroids again. I know, sounds silly, right? I mean, as gynaes, you're probably looking at me and thinking, oh, you can have fibroids every year, right? That can happen, right? So in my mind, you know, when I concluded the book, I thought the book is done. Because you know, you hear some authors who write a manuscript for like 10 years and they're still not happy with it, and then they continue writing it, and then it's never done, and then some of them, they never even get to publish the book because it's just, they're not able to conclude the book. But the moment where I thought, you know what, nothing can possibly happen to me in as far as my health is concerned. So a month ago, experiencing this pain again, which I had experienced already in 2015, which is what led to all of this happening and led to me ending up in ICU, was that they discovered that I had another cyst. So I'm here right now, having been discharged, when, 3 weeks ago? Yeah. So I had another laparotomy. So I was cut from below my, breasts down to my, navel area, bikini area. And I think I've got like 27 stitches. Yeah. So this is something recent. This is something that's not in the book because it just happened 3 weeks ago. So I'm hoping you're going to look after yourself. Not to say that I was not looking after myself, because I did not ask to have fibroids, and I'd like to think that I lead a healthy lifestyle. But things like that cannot be, there's no escaping. So always make sure that you listen to your body, you know your body enough. Believe me, you're not a drama queen if you wake your partner up in the middle of the night and say, Vuga, this pain is going nowhere. Take me to the doctor right now. Rather, you come back from the emergency room and then having telling you that, no, Panado will do. Rather that, instead of sitting for days on end because you're worried about waking up your partner, or you worried that you're going to be labeled a drama queen, oh, she's forever sick, oh, she loves attention. Rather that than getting to a point where you have to be rushed in for an emergency operation and then ending up in ICU like I did, because it ain't fun for anybody, no matter how strong you are. So that pain that you're feeling, don't take it lightly. And husbands, partners, support your women. Learn their bodies. And help them on this journey, because after all, they brought your children, into this world. The least you can do is to help them on the journey of learning about themselves, about their bodies, and then what they go through, and have that solid partnership where you support each other in that way. Thank you so, so much again for your time. And thank you for buying the book. I know you're going to make me bestseller. Yay! Even if you are not ready to read the book now, buy it, put it by the bedside, or if you feel it's not really for me, the statistics show that 50%, up to 50% of women of childbearing age will experience what I went through. So half of you ladies in this room, if you haven't experienced what I experienced, I'm not wishing it on you, but half of you in this room are going to experience what I experienced. So the point I'm trying to make is that you might not want to read it for yourself, or read it for yourself. It's British Empire. Tough English is very difficult. Anyway, so there's somebody that needs the book out there. So, you know, you can only buy so many flowers when you go and visit somebody in hospital. Instead of buying them flowers, get them my smaller book, you know, to give them as a, you know, as a get well soon gift, instead of just buying a card and having, you know, yourself appear as a cheapskate, you know. Take a book instead. You've got a sister that's just started menstruating. Yes, I said it. Yeah. Yes, I said it. I'm getting brave, right? Yeah, I'm getting there, yeah. So get it for somebody, get it for your niece, get it for your godchild. But best of all, support me, please. He's retired, so I'm now the breadwinner, you know? Yeah, Safa was not paying him very well, and he decided to retire, so support the breadwinner right here. Thank you so much for your time.